Nice full glass, Shannon.
Yeah, it's a little tiny, like 3-ounce glass. I'm trying to watch my carbs, but you know, this is a special occasion, and I'm sure I got some kind of Beaujolais in here, which I'm sure Kathy will be talking about. But I just wanted to thank everyone for being here, and we're gonna have a great time learning about Burgundy and Provence, and lots of fun facts about AMA Waterways. And thank you, Kathy, for being my special guest. And cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's
Okay.
cheers and finish.
Okay, good. It looks like we're recording, and I'm going to mute everybody. And Kathy, I will unmute you.
Kathy, in France, it's Osante.
Osante? Okay. Osante, thank you.
It's sort of like the Irish, sláinte.
Okay. Okay, Kathy, you're unmuted. Okay.
I believe I am. Yes. Here comes somebody else. Okay.
Let's see. All right, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Sip and Sail featuring the essence of Burgundy and Provence. I'm Shannon LaMarche, founder of Premier Luxury Travel, where I help my clients discover the best of the destination through its food, wine, and culture. And since we can't travel the world right now, I wanted to bring the world to you. And tonight you're in for a real treat. We're sailing on a wine cruise down the Saône and the Rhône rivers through two of the most storied wine regions in France, Burgundy and Provence. I'm really excited about this itinerary because it's such a pleasure for the palate and has some of the best food and wine in the world. And I love the diversity of the landscape, and it just really feels like we'd be sailing through two different countries. And since I find that wine and food unlocks the treasures of the countries I fall in love with, helping us fall in love with France, particularly Burgundy and Provence regions that we will be showing you, is my friend Kathy Brock from AMA Waterways, a river cruise company known for their incomparable food and service where they make you feel like family. Kathy, the floor is yours.
Okay, before we get away from my presentation, I want everybody to look at the screen behind Shannon, because if you haven't done a river cruise, there you go, dodge it, girl. If you haven't done a river cruise,
sorry, that's the best I could do.
That'll give you a real idea about what river cruising is all about, because basically it's like checking into a small luxury hotel room, and every night that hotel room is going to move, and you're going to wake up the next day in a different city or town. And as you can see from this picture right here, this ship is docked in the city of Regensburg. So literally you will be able to walk off the ship and do your walking tour or do a bicycle tour. You're going to get off that ship, you're going to go on an excursion. You might be gone 4 or 5 hours. Then you're going to get off the ship and you're going to sail away. Have you really experienced that destination? So this is very immersive and very, very manageable. There's also no sense of motion on a river cruise ship. These are the 3 families that own AMA, and Shannon can reach out by phone or by email to any one of these 3 people and they will answer. Rudy Schreiner over on the left was the first president of a company you might have heard of, Viking River Cruises. Prior to that, in 1992, the year they connected the Rhine River with the Danube River, he was vice president of another river cruise line. He's actually an architect trained in Vienna, designs our ships, designs our itineraries. Christine, to his right there, came from Dresden, Germany, never traveled until the wall came down. I call her the heart and soul of AMA Waterways. She's really the one that sets the tone for this company. Rudy says, I build them, she fills them. The third family is the Murphy family over here. It was Gary's dad, Jimmy, that was the original owner, but we lost Jimmy a few years ago, so now we have Gary. These 3 families own, operate, and manage AMA Waterways. So very, very different in this time of stress. The other thing to understand about this company is since we were founded by immigrants, Austria, Germany, Ireland, They had the mentality of if they built something, if they bought something, they paid for it. So Rudy's statement down here at the bottom just tugs at my heart. He says there is no debt on any of our ships, so he can sleep at night. Now, in this day and age, how many companies can say that? In this day and age, how many restaurants, businesses, companies are you concerned about and have this second little thought that says, I wonder if they'll be here coming out the other side? Well, I promise you, Ama will be here. Now, Ama is the Latin derivation of the word love, amo, amos, amad. That's where we get our name. So we are not AMA Waterways, that would be the American Medical Association. So we're AMA Waterways, and when you sail with us, you become a member of the AMA family. Now, everybody's talking about the protocols that are going to be in operation when we come out of this insanity. Well, everybody's talking about it, but we've already done it. We actually started sailing on the Rhine River on July 5th, and we sailed with European guests for 4.5 months. Germany just shut down about 2.5 weeks ago, so we had to suspend from there. But you know, people talk about what they're gonna do. We're not talking the talk, we're walking the walk. So some of the things, number one, ships have been limited, or going to be limited if we're still in this coming out of it, to 100 passengers, even if they're built for 148 or 156. The facial coverings were used when people were moving around the ship. Anytime you were seated in the lounge, in the dining room, or up on that top deck, there was no need for a facial covering. Somebody ran the numbers on one of our cruises with the German passengers, said they wore a mask about a total of 20 minutes during the course of the cruise. Temperature checks, morning and everybody embarking and disembarking, everything's been spaced out, so the social distancing, the sanitized luggage is always done, and what's really critical is the ships that Rudy designed do not recirculate air. So it is all fresh air coming into your cabin. It is all fresh air coming into the public areas, the restaurants. So there's no recirculated air. And I think that's going to be a really critical point coming out of this. So we do have a sense of humor. Here in the middle, we have our captain in front of the elevator. There's a hotel manager. There's two of our wonderful housekeepers. And who's the most important person on the ship, Shannon? The chef. Yeah. Well, we not only have a chef on every ship, but we have a pastry chef as well. And that's my downfall. What can I tell you? So this is a brand new itinerary for 2021. We have done an itinerary that included Provence, which would be from Lyon down to Arles. But we have not done the Burgundy area. Actually, you're talking two different rivers here. Up at the top is the Saône River. Then the Saône joins the Rhône River in Lyon. And then from the Lyon down, you're on the Rhône River. So let's talk about what's different about this itinerary. If you think about European cathedrals, one of the things you're going to think about is these huge, tall spires and the Gothic architecture. Well, this area here is back to the Middle Ages times. So the architecture here is not Gothic, rather it's Romanesque, which is those rounded archways that constructed everything. So whether it's abbeys or monasteries, it's going to be much more Romanesque architecture. There you've got bigger cities down here on the Rhône River, no cities really to speak of on the Saône. You're sailing in countryside, there are fewer ships, it's smaller villages and towns. Over here you've got the white cows in Burgundy. You've probably heard of a dish called beef bourguignon, and it comes about from the white cows. Also, one of the landscapes here are just going to be absolutely stunning. You're going to overnight in every city port. So that means after dinner at night, you can simply get off the ship and walk into the town and enjoy some of those local cultures. So very, very nice plus there. Other rivers, we stay in the port until midnight or 1 a.m. This is overnighting in every port. So the Saône area is famous for eggs and cheeses and milk products. So absolutely fantastic. I don't remember which direction you're going, whether you're starting in Geneva or starting in Arles, so I'll just wing it. If you want to read some books about the area, there's a very nice historical fiction novel called All the Light We Cannot See. It would be good reading.
That is a really good book. And we're going south to north, so we're starting in Arles.
Okay, well, my slides are backwards. Sorry about that. This happens to me every time, I promise you. So the Rhone is vineyards and castles, okay? The Saône is rolling hills, little villages along the riverbanks, and a much more relaxing cruise. If you've done the Rhine or the Danube, you're going to find this one very relaxing. So it's a very well-known wine region. Here's the ship that you will be on. She's called the Amacello, and she only has 148 passengers on board. So she has a couple cabin categories. She has a fixed window, a window that doesn't open. Then she has what's called a French balcony. It's sliding glass doors, but it's not actually a step-out balcony. You've got all the scenery and the fresh air. And this is sitting right outside the beautiful town of Avignon, where the Palace of the Popes is. And back in childhood, I think there was a song, Sur le Pont Avignon. Not that I could remember the rest of it, but so you're going to see less shift traffic and everything. Your dining, Shannon mentioned, we are infamous for our dining because we are the only river cruise line to be a member of this gastronomic society, which is actually the oldest in the world. It's called Les Chaînes du Rôtisseur, and everything has to be locally sourced, even the fish. We are on a first name basis with the local fishmonger, and we actually have presentation that looks like this. Our dinners are always 5-course dinners. We can accommodate any dietary need with the exception of kosher. We do vegetarian, vegan, we do gluten-free. Now, we're going backwards here. Bear that in mind. So this would be a post-land package. Now, when AMA does a river cruise, they always offer a land portion on the front and or on the back. Now, what's really neat about the way we do that is that we send our cruise manager, who is just the best in the world, and you're going to think hung the moon, on the land part. So in this case, if you did the land part at the end of the cruise in Geneva, Switzerland, with 3 nights there, the cruise manager would be there with you. But actually on the other end, our land part is the fabulous city of Barcelona. And if you're starting in Barcelona, my best example of this, I traveled on the Danube. And the first time I went to Prague, it was at the front end. I was traveling solo. I did not know a single soul that was going to be in that ship. I checked into that hotel that first day, and there was the cruise manager in a lobby of the hotel with a desk, doing a meet and greet that night with a champagne toast, describing what we were going to do the 3 days in Prague, transferring to the ship with us, and then doing the 7-night cruise with it. It would be the same thing if you chose to do Barcelona before joining the cruise in Arles. Again, it's backwards. Geneva is in the edge of Switzerland, right, almost part of France. Fabulous architecture and beautiful scenery here as well. Now you've got the town or city of Annecy, and this is like something out of Italy, because look at the architecture. It is right next to Italy. So this whole town of Annecy, they call it the Venice of this area of France. You're going to see castles. This is definitely ancient Romanesque. Look at the round towers. Look at the keep in the middle. Look at the moat that you're going to cross to get here. Dijon. Now, there's a chance you could see the Dijon mustard fields in bloom, considering when you're going. Dijon, yeah, when I was little, wasn't that the fanciest mustard you ever heard of? And now, oh, it was Dijon and Grey Poupon, right? I think those are the ones. But you're going to see Dijon, France. Now, the 7-night cruise. What do we got? Chalon-sur-Saône is your ending place, okay? And it's going to have absolutely these manicured gardens and chateaus that you will visit. Again, that's that Romanesque architecture here. It's another chateau, and some of these chateaus or castles are lived in with the original families, and you could actually meet them. Also in France, chateau is the same as winery. So a lot of these are attached to wineries. This area in Burgundy is known not for the half-timbered houses, but these fabulous tile roofs. This is actually a hospital that then became a winery. So this whole area on the Saône is what they call the countryside of France. So the white cows and also the rolling hills. Tournon, that's a great, great city. I think it was here when I did Provence that after dinner, they said, if you'd like to join us on a walking tour after dinner, come out to the dock. So we walked out to the dock and there were 2 guides in medieval dress, and we walked up the winding streets up to the castle, and the guides had keys to the castle. We went in, the cathedral, sorry, and we went in and toured the church by moonlight. Absolutely fantastic. But here, this is your scenery in Burgundy. Countryside, vineyards, rolling hills, and very, very little ship traffic. So another chateau with a moat, an active moat around it. And I know, I'm from Georgia. You know, to me, it looks like Macon, but it's not. It's Macon, in Macon, France. You're going to have these stone bridges crossing the river and beautiful architecture in these cities, and probably some pretty good shopping as well. Burgundy is going to be known for dinners that include lots of butter and potatoes. Oh, you are speaking my language here. Add bread and I'm so happy. There are also wine opportunities and wine tastings in almost every single port. They've got a favorite cheese too. It's called Épouse, and it was Napoleon's favorite cheese, and they refer to it as a stinky cheese. They say you can literally smell this cheese a block away. People love it. I think it sounds like Limburger cheese, but anyway. Spring, you could have an area that's flowers in bloom, cherry blossoms, and that sort of thing. Another one of these monasteries, churches, and look again at that roof. It's beautiful porcelain tiles up there as well. Yeah, rolling hills, beautiful countryside, meandering river. And now when you get down to the Rhone, you're going to get into the Beaujolais region. You're going to get into the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And my favorite over there is the Côte du Rhône wines. But you'll be getting there just as the grapes are starting to come into being, and you're going to have these beautiful green vineyards everywhere. Lyon will excite everyone because they say there are actually more 5-star restaurants and fine dining in Lyon as they are in Paris. So this is the gastronomic capital of France. Beautiful city, built up on a hill, looking down over the river, the statue looking again down onto the river. What have you got in Lyon? You got the Beaujolais wine, you got the Burgundy wine, the Côte de Rhône, the cheeses, the sausages with brioche, which would be a bread, and of course, what's on the right? Macaroons. Can't go to France without macaroons. Wien, beautiful city here, right on the river again. Cathedral here, again, not Gothic. See the difference between church spires that are high peaked and Romanesque, which is those arches over here, the rounded arches. This came before Gothic. Wine tasting everywhere, almost wine tasting every single place you're going to go. We're back to Avignon. Avignon is the home of the Palace of the Popes. Beautiful building here. And if you missed this in your education, unless you went to a Catholic school, at one time, there were two popes, actually that lasted for 100 years. There was a pope who held seat in Italy, in Rome, but there was also a pope elected and held seat in France for 100 years. This is where the pope was located, in the Palace of the Pope in Avignon. Oh, bike tour. You're going to have bike tours on almost every port if you're into biking. You also will have some hiking tours as well. If there's a scenic area up here on an overlook, we could schedule a hike there. And when we do a bike or a hike, we send out two guides. So nobody's left behind. Nobody's the slow person. There's a guide at the front. There's also a guide at the back in case you change your mind, but nobody's left behind. Also, our walking tours, which are almost always included with the city tour, we divide that by pace. So there's a group every day called the regular walkers. There's another group called the active walkers. I'm really feeling guilty because of the pastry chef and the ice cream party. So I'm going with the active walkers. Or, man, I overdid it yesterday. I think I'll hang with the gentle walkers today. And every day you change your mind. Who'd you meet at dinner? Who do you want to go with tomorrow? Change your mind every single day. Like I say, a choice typically of 4 to 6 excursions are included. Wine tasting everywhere, going to be red wine. It's probably going to come with bread and cheeses, culinary tastings. This is the bread basket of France. So absolutely fabulous wines and cheeses. Arles. Now, I love the city of Arles. Again, Roman. This is a Roman Colosseum. There are Roman ruins all over the place here. So you've got softer colors. They're red tile roofs, but not the blaring red like you saw there on the Danube. But I love the city of Arles. This is where Vincent van Gogh did his painting, the Café Nuit, the cafe at night, and you get to go sit in that cafe and take your selfie there. So again, there's the Colosseum here and beautiful architecture, flowers everywhere, the bread, the boxes on the windows, the Provence blue, and oh boy, you know, I'm sure that's bougainvillea, but the colors of the stone in this area are absolutely golden and they kind of glow on the hillsides. Now, this would be the front end, Barcelona. I did Barcelona a few years ago, and there's a very famous architect from there called Gaudi. Gaudi does the most unique buildings you've ever seen. I don't like modern architecture. I didn't know that I'd like Gaudi, but I adore everything he did. It's all tiles. This is also the place with that cathedral that is still under construction, La Sagrada Familia. So you will get to see this. It's got another 50 years to go to be completed. And you even get to up to Montserrat, which is above the city of Barcelona. Wonderful monastery up there. Oh, see, that cathedral just stands right out there. So you could be starting in Barcelona, already be best friends with your cruise manager before you even get there. Now, what would you buy on these? Lavender, that's Provence, herbe de Provence. And in Tournon, there's a fabulous chocolate factory. And we just might have a combination of a red wine and chocolate evening. Now, because you've joined us this evening, or if somebody joins in to watch the recorded version of this, I can offer a $100 per person discount, even off of the group rate that Shannon has. The only thing about it is this is an offer just for you, and you have to make a deposit within a couple weeks of this event. Now, what does AMA mean by a deposit? AMA means $400 per person, and then there's absolutely nothing else due until 90 days from the sailing. So your sailing is March 22. So you would put the $400 down, and there wouldn't be anything else due until, gosh, I guess that's January of 2022.
Or December 31st or something like that.
Pardon?
Yeah, like December 31st, January 1, something like that. So
December 31st.
One year, more than a year.
Yes, more than a year. Yeah, absolutely. I do have one special offer just for tonight. Again, the deposit would have to be made the same, and you could do this through Shannon. It is one particular sailing on the Danube in August of this next year of 2021. Again, that $400 down, and it literally is a 2-for-1 fare. So if anybody has any questions about the Danube, I'll be glad to fill you in on that. Now,
the Danube is one of your favorites.
Oh, God, don't even go there. It's killing me right now. I'm always gone for Thanksgiving, folks. I'm always on a Christmas market cruise. I think it's been 5 to 7 years since I've ever been home for Thanksgiving. And quite frankly, I don't like it. But anyway, I have 3 quotes that I always wrap up with. The first one is very near and dear to my heart because I did 6 years ago our Southeast Asia itinerary. I went to Cambodia and Vietnam, and it was the most astounding, powerful, and life-changing trip I've ever done, and I've done Africa twice. Now, the Buddhist culture is so amazing. I would have stolen the quote, no matter who said it, but the fact that it's attributed to Buddha touches me more. Buddha says, the trouble is, you think you have time. Sure, you're always going to feel this good. You're always going to be able to travel with your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews. Anybody know somebody who thought they had time and they didn't? Whether it was health reasons or family health reasons. So you can always make more money. You can't always make more memories. And if we've learned anything this year, it's the importance of friends and family. So I say my word, it started to be my word for the month of April. Now it's been my word for 9 months, the word beyond. Where do you want to go when we get beyond this? And who do you want to go with? My favorite quote came from that wonderful character on Downton Abbey called Mr. Carson. Mr. Carson nailed it when he said, the business of life is the acquisition of memories. Nothing makes memories better than travel. I'm telling you, travel with your kids, travel with your grandkids, nieces, nephews. Go make memories that could last longer than you do. So I will stop screen sharing, and Shannon's going to open up the microphone, and now you're going to hear the dog, the puppy dropping his bone everywhere at my feet. Sorry about that.
Let's see.
It's always like,
you can always mute yourself. I tried to unmute everybody and it wouldn't let me, so.
Okay, down in the lower left corner, a little microphone in red, click on it. It's always the hardest thing in the world to get the first question.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for sharing your insights, and thanks everyone for spending time with us tonight. And so if this evening whet your appetite for some great wine tasting while floating through historic places, you're in luck. I will be hosting a wine river cruise like Kathy was mentioning on this very itinerary, March 31st, 2022 through April 7th, 2022. And if you deposit, she had mentioned the group rate. So if you deposit before December 31st, you'll get a whopping $750 per person discount. And Kathy's throwing in an extra 100 if you book by December 16th. So that's 2 weeks from today. And that's the day before my birthday. So if you want to give me a huge birthday present, come with us on this group. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so, I mean, it's an extra $1,700 off. So they include so many different things. If you have any questions or if you want any more information, I'm happy to send it to you. Just leave me a message in the chat or send me an email or raise your hand. I know Joan had a question about, could you talk about the 2-for-1 special again?
It's just that one sailing.
And it's the Danube on the Ama.
It was on the Ama Certo. Was it August 21st of 2021 that it was sailing?
Correct. Yes.
And Kathy, I had another question too. And Shannon, this is for you too. You mentioned it's a wine cruise. Can you talk a little bit about the wine host and when we would know who the wine host is for this sailing?
They're still nailing down 2021, so we would know early on into the new year. It is a wine cruise. I don't think I remembered that part. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to tell everyone what is so special about a wine cruise.
Oh, it is so different. It is not what you think it's going to be, because Alma's been doing, probably 10 or 11 years. We've done hosted wine cruises. Now, you think that's just going to include the local wine and tastings and that sort of thing, but that's not the way Alma does it. Alma invites a vintner from North America. Now, like California, like Oregon, like the Finger Lakes, and then we pay for them to ship their wines over to the ship. We have an entire cabin filled with nothing but wine and glasses so that they can do tastings. They do lectures. They do a paired wine dinner with a different wine at every single course of dinner. And they go with us to the vineyards and the wine cellars. And you're thinking, okay, I've met with some wine shop people and they go, why are you doing that? Why are you taking American wines over there when you've already got wines there? Well, there's a big difference between New World wines, like California wines that we're accustomed to. They tend to be bold and hearty and fruit forward, whereas many of the Old World wines are softer and more steeped in tradition, and you learn to appreciate both. There's no extra cost for it being a
Special
wine cruise. But they are most highly rated cruises every single year. They average about 60 of those every year. Okay, we're being joined by a puppy.
Hey, Shannon, this is being recorded, right? So I can go back over and look at it and look at
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, I had a little hiccup at the beginning where my internet went out. So I'm so glad everybody was able to stay intact so I could log back in. So I'll try to splice the two
right now.
together. Excuse me?
Kathy, I
Oh,
had
that
one
would be my Wi-Fi.
Kathy, did you say also that there was going to be a reduced passenger capacity due to the pandemic? Did I hear you say that?
If we are still in that situation. Now, there is no way on God's green earth that I think we're going to still be in that position in 2022.
No.
Yeah, that vaccine's coming out in 2 weeks. And I think we might be, not sure we'll get on in first quarter, but I'm banking on April. And I'm going to be there when those gates open.
I know you're going to be there.
I bet Joan will too.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did I understand you correctly that there's going to be an overnight in each of the stops?
That's my question.
The ship will overnight in the port.
In the port?
Yes. Yeah,
Each
that's,
of the-
that's what my notes say. In every port,
Okay.
we'll probably depart about 5 or 6 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but we actually, on most of the rivers, we're there till midnight or till 1 a.m., which usually is enough for folks, but it's delightful to walk back into the port. And of course, we do have entertainment on the ship after dinner, but a lot of people would like to, like that walking tour we had with the guides in medieval dress. I mean, you're parked right there. There might be a little wine shop there or a beer garden or anything like that. Why not take advantage of it?
Will there be other boats docked also at the same pier? So it's just going to be Anna?
That is totally unpredictable based on the nautical schedules, but
Okay.
on the Saône River, there are fewer ships there overall.
Mm.
The time that I think that we have to do the rafting or the barging, that is much more in the summer months.
Okay.
Yeah, Dina and I traveled together last year on the Danube. And I think there were some times where we left ports fairly early in the evening, so we were not always there overnight. So that'll be a real treat to be able to get off and walk into the town after, after the day's activities.
Right.
Just like the little town where you're sitting, Joan.
Yep.
Your little town.
That one we're there overnight. That's on the Rhine. That's a whole different thing. Yeah.
One of the best things on the tours in France are going to one of the local markets or the Bastides and to see the fresh fruits and vegetables and, hello, kitty cat, all those things that I swear when I was over there, I thought the artichokes looked like a medieval mace. They were huge. And the white asparagus were just, I mean, they were huge. And folks were really enjoying that as well. And the local breads and cheeses in France are just unbeatable.
Yes, they are.
I'd like the idea of being able to get off the ship in Lyon or any of those small towns and just walking to the local cafe where they've been working all into the wee hours of the morning, baking fresh pastry. And I remember the last time I went to the Cannes Film Festival, we got up really early just to go to the cafe and get the freshest croissant. And
that's what Gary Murphy, one of our owners, says. He always gets off the ship very, very early, goes to the closest cafe, has his coffee or his tea, whichever he wants, watches the little town or the city come to life, and then come back on the ship in time for breakfast.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best. And then you get to live like a local. I know they call the Saône and the Rhone valleys the Valley of Gastronomy.
Yes.
With Lyon being the foodie capital of France, pretty much. So, I mean, that's one thing that attracted me to this particular itinerary. When I found out they were doing both regions, I had to sign on.
Yeah, you're going to really
like that.
Meet the locals when you're on the Saône, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those tile roofs are just incredible.
They are.
I mean, you don't ever see anything like that anywhere else. So this one will be a real treat. Yeah, hi, Paul. Go ahead.
Hey, Kathy, what's the weather typically like at that time of year? End of March, early April?
I would dress in layers always. It could be chilly, or it could be chilly at night and beautiful during the day. If you want actual temperatures, I'd have to ask Mr. Google.
Understand. Thanks.
But you are in the south of France for the most part.
I was going to say, coincidentally, my family was in Marseille over New Year's this past year, and it was very temperate. And we actually did go from Marseille up to Arles, and it was in the 60s. I mean, we did have to dress in layers. We were prepared for colder weather, but it was very, very temperate. It was very pleasant.
When I did Bordeaux, one of the things that surprised me was the number of palm trees. And you look at the latitude of where Bordeaux is, and it's pretty far north of the US. So I was just so surprised to see the palm trees.
I saw a few palm trees in Scotland once.
Oh, okay.
Totally unexpected.
Unless the Gulf Stream comes up that way, that's what it is. The current
Okay.
is a little warm air.
Knew it had to be some kind of current.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Kathy, what are the number of people on the walking tours?
Typically like 15 to 20. During this episode, you know, what we were doing in Germany on the Rhine River, we were much smaller groups than that, like 5 to 10. But, you know, like I say, typically we're 15 to maybe 20 people, whereas other river cruise lines are going to have 30 to 40.
Okay.
Yeah. The big ad that you see on television for that other river cruise line that everybody says, when you say river cruise, they say the word Viking. Listen to their ad on television. There's a really catch sentence that they start out with. They start out with saying, an excursion is included in every port. Well, I don't know about you, but I say the definition of an excursion means one. That means everybody goes on that one excursion. So that's when you have 30 to 40 people on board. And if you don't want to go on that excursion, you will have to pay for another one. And here we're offering between 4 and 6 excursions in every port, which I always say is a wonderful reason to go back and do a river the second time, because you can do a different excursion every time. If I had to count, I can't count how many times I've done the Christmas markets on the Danube, at least between 5 and 7 times.
And I like that you have bikes on board, because I mean, that would be just really cool to go off on your own and just ride into the little towns and pop into a shop. And, you know, it's a great way to really explore.
Yeah, absolutely. We might take you out on a biking tour and stop by a vineyard. But if it's a long stop, I'll bet you we'd send a motor coach to get you.
Throw the bikes underneath.
But every ship has 25 bikes on board.
Okay.
All right, we've got a few minutes left if anybody has any more questions. If not, we'll let you go early. I'll follow up with y'all with a link to this video. It'll take me a minute to splice them together, but hopefully, well, hopefully I'll be able to get it all.
Pardon?
No, hopefully I'll be able to get it all together. Otherwise, you're going to get the second half, which is the biggest half anyway. And then you'll get a brochure, a link to a brochure that kind of lists whatever, you know, kind of what Kathy talked about. One thing I wanted to mention about Barcelona is about 5 years ago, I produced a TV series, and we spent most of our time, probably 9 episodes in Barcelona. And I explored every square inch of that place. And it is the most incredible, like when she says Gaudi is like, he is the man. You see his influence in the architecture there all over the place. And that La Sagrada Familia Cathedral is the most interesting. Like if you look in the front, it tells a story of, right, Joan? I mean, it tells a story in the Bible, and you go over to the other side and there's a completely different story.
It tells all the Bible stories. There's like concrete sculptures on the outside of the building, and it's just gorgeous. And then the building, I think it's like poured concrete or something.
Yes.
And it's like very plain, but then you go inside and there's just gorgeous stained glass windows. I was there several years ago and they hadn't finished installing the windows, but where the windows were, the light that comes through the church, it's amazing. It's a really beautiful place to visit. In Barcelona, the food is also fabulous.
Absolutely. Paella, the sangria. You could hop cafes.
The food market there, Kathy, you were talking about visiting the markets, but La Boqueria, the market.
Yeah, that's my favorite. We filmed in there too. Yeah. It's just so colorful, so colorful. And they, you know, meats, and I bought saffron there and paella pan, and brought it all home, and I make paella once in a while, and I still have my saffron from Barcelona.
And I would just say, I mean, from my experience, and I haven't been in most of the itinerary for this river cruise, but just how nice to have the contrast between being in Spain and then going into France. And even though geographically they're really close, it's like two totally different cultures and two totally different cuisines. So, I mean, that's very appealing to me personally.
Yeah, and the Catalonia part of Spain is so different than the rest of Spain.
And I should mention, we are getting a huge interest in longer trips coming out of this because people know they've missed their vacation this year. So maybe they should take a double one next year. Well, every single one of the itineraries in France can be booked back to back. So for instance, you could go with your group on Burgundy and Provence and then hop over and do another 7-night cruise in Bordeaux. Or you could start out on the Seine and go out to Normandy or go out to Mont Saint-Michel and then come down and meet the cruise and do Burgundy and Provence.
So Kathy, is that something that the cruise company would coordinate the transfer from ship to ship?
Yes, we just announced it last week, Joan. We are even offering a 10% discount on the second sailing.
That's amazing. That's really good to know. I had missed that. So that's
Oh, it's brand new. Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
we've had people do back to back before, but they've structured all of the French rivers to be timed to be built back to back if you want to.
That's a real bonus.
So how about
if you're already over there, why not do another one? You know, if you've got the
Exactly.
time.
You could do 21 days,
Mm-hmm.
then to the Rhone, Provence, and then to Burgundy, Bordeaux.
So actually, Kathy, you had mentioned earlier, what is it? All the light we cannot see.
Yes.
And that takes place actually on Saint Malo, which I think is an extension from the Bordeaux cruise. It's kind of like in the northwest corner of France.
That would be Impressions of the Seine,
Okay.
which is up in Brittany. And that's our brand new itinerary there. Instead of going from Paris out to Normandy beaches and back to Paris, this is a one-way trip that starts in Paris, goes all the way out to Saint Malo and on to Mont Saint-Michel. And it's just one way, so it spends more time in the ports. That's a brand new itinerary too. There's 2 new ones for France, and you've picked one of them.
Yes. So just to recap, guys, if you're Johnny on the spot and you want to come with us, you know, I'm only taking a small group and we've already got some cabins booked. And I know Joan's got a group too. So we're going to book out this ship, I think. So if you're Johnny on the spot and you want to join us, if you do it by the 16th of this month, so you got 2 weeks, you're going to get that extra $200 off. So not only will you get the $1,500 per cabin for double occupancy, you're going to get an extra $200. So,
and you get the cabin you want.
and yeah, you get to choose the cabin you want.
And you put it on your calendar and you look forward to it and you count the time down.
I call that putting hope on my calendar. And I've got a lot of hope on my calendar right now. And I can't tell you how happy that makes me, because as you know, you probably already experienced this. 2020 was kind of a bust when it comes to our vacations, and we've had to cancel a lot of really nice, you know, European vacations, Mediterranean cruise, you name it. And I've had to do that for my clients, and it touches my heart every time I have to do that, because I know that the excitement that everybody had and the disappointment when they had to cancel and to push it out. But those who chose to push it out felt better about it because now they have something to look forward to. So if you want to put it on your calendar, give me a shout.
Think beyond.
And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them. You know, Kathy can help me if I don't know the answer. So, you know, she's just a phone call away. We would love to have you join us, and we'll just have a really good time. And if you like wine, like I do,
And food.
I'm a culinary travel expert, and everything I do has to revolve around food. I think, you know, for me, I wanted to learn more about the old world wine versus new world wine. So the wine education for me was just the icing on the cake. And the fact that we're going to be there during bud break is a really special time. I had gone to Napa Valley about a year and a half ago at bud break, and it was just magical. The vineyards just looked really alive and just full of hope and wonder. And, you know, you just, you know, you see the little vines starting to get green. And I think the wineries have this energy about them at bud break. I'm not even sure what it is about that, but it's just really cool. And I know we're going to be visiting some really old wineries steeped in tradition. And you're going to learn a lot. So if you're like me and you want to learn more about old world wines, then this is definitely a trip you're going to want to consider. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I just wanted to thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate your being here. Reach out to me anytime. If you have any questions, I'm going to send a follow-up email with some more info for you. And have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you all so much.
Au revoir.
Okay.
Love. Au revoir.